Obviously, as of now, you don't know who you're playing. But
That's why we shouldn't be doing this.
how do you prepare? Is it just falling back on playing Rutgers twice, playing USC a few weeks ago?
Yeah, obviously when you've played them. But we've obviously played our last two, our only time against USC and our last time against Rutgers at home. So we all know it's different when you play, on neutral court. So, you watch those games and where you played, and you kind of look what works, what didn't work, what you want to stay away from, what you want to get more of, and obviously they can make adjustments too. So you have to be prepared, for that. But you've played a lot of games, so like you're in a position where you should feel comfortable, no matter what happened. But sometimes in competition, people can do rare things, and but they're going to play tonight. And a lot of people aren't going to play a game and get done and get back to the hotel at midnight and then switch everything that they're going to do. So, they'll be prepared for us and we'll be prepared for them.
But these things are kind of different nowadays because, for years and years and years, you've been going into this with a bunch of teams you've, played every year, or you played twice during the season. Now you've got three teams that you've only been playing for a year. Plus, you've only played three teams twice.
Right. Yeah, but two of those teams could be our teams we play. So if you want to look at it with Michigan and Rutgers, so if you can win the first game and Rutgers is that game, we played them twice and we played Michigan twice, so it kind of falls back on what we've done. Obviously USC is a new team and a team we've only played one time, so there's not there, but we have played his team in Arkansas the year before in an exhibition. So I think you're familiar across the board, and then obviously you kind of look at the seeding if you can get past that, and you do the same thing. You kind of go to the games that you've played and get that figured out. But yeah, it's not your dad's Big Ten, right? It's not 10 teams and you're playing everybody twice, and you got a little bit more familiarity with everything. I don't think there's any advantage, disadvantage. It's just different and new, right?
Regardless of that, scout, what has been maybe the priority this week, just internally, what you guys wanted to accomplish, your own work?
Yeah, it's the same thing. Like you're trying to improve on the things that matter, the pillars of the game, taking care of the basketball, rebounding the basketball. I thought our shot selection was really, really good against Illinois. I thought we had great execution. We were just good. Obviously, a lot of people like to be good, but in that game, our inability to make some shots that were good shots. A lot of times the shots that you miss, you go back and you go, we just got to get a better shot than that. And that wasn't the case. I thought out of the 49 shots that those three took, 47 of them were good. Fletch had a bad one in the paint. Braden had a bad one to finish the first half. Outside of that, so how many times can you be in the game and say, your top three guys that score for you took 47 out of 49 good shots? We just got to convert more of them. But once again, as a coach, I'll take that every day of the week. We got to be better at the end of a game defensively. We got to be better defensively, period. We're just allowing the ball in there way, way too much, and how we scheme and how we do things. If we put a lot of time into it, and then we're negligent sometimes in areas that we're successful. I think that's the frustrating part for us as a group, is that we'll have success doing something and then we'll be absent-minded and we'll just give up a couple layups, and you got to make them earn it. So when they make tough ones over you, you don't want anybody to score, but you can live with those. You just can't live with point-blank layups or missed box outs or not doing what you're supposed to do in ball screen defense, those type of things. And that's what inconsistent is. Inconsistent isn't bad. Bad means you just don't ever do it. Inconsistent means you're having some success and then you're not having success. And the factors are, in my opinion, isn't anything more than concentration. We got to do a better job of doing our job and just concentrating and then playing at a high tilt. Just competing and getting there. We're in spurts with that. This team has always been a team that is much better defensively when the ball's going in, right? They just feel better about themselves. We got to find that at the end of a game and when the ball's not going in for us. We look sometimes at the result of the ball not going in like we're doing something bad, when in reality we're doing something great. Stay with it, keep getting good shots, but do your job on the defensive end, stay connected, and then just keep working. I did think that we really, really emphasized the rebounding piece of it, and Illinois devoured Michigan on the glass, and I thought we did a good job there. But you can, as a coach, you can't emphasize the game in game 31, right? You can't emphasize the game. It's hey man, we've built habits up to this point we got to really stick to our rules and stay with our habits and stay with that. But I thought our guys did a good job there. We just got to do a better job in all the other areas.
Is this the sort of team where single elimination life can bring out a higher level of focus defensively?
I hope so. I think it's a great setup for us because there was a consequence to losing the Illinois game. Like you're a 6 seed instead of a 2 seed. Mm-hmm. Like you got to live with that consequence and go forward and be successful. But you had all the opportunities in the world that the position that we put ourselves in. We put ourselves in great positions in the games we lost in the second half. Like nobody can argue that fact. But it's a 40-minute game and you got to be more consistent. So like that's what sometimes like our offense will carry the day, and then we think some of those things defensively are okay. And I don't think that's a conscious thought. I think it's kind of more of a subconscious thought. And I think that's important for us to understand. Like, we got to be able to push through whether the ball's going in or not and have some success on the defensive end.
In terms of rest and rotations with 4 days in a row maybe playing, do you have to ignore that and just take one game at a time?
Yeah. You're in the game in front of you. Like, you think about it afterwards. You don't think about it during. And people are like, well, you got to, like, do some of these things. If you get up 30 points, that's easy to do, right? If not, you just run the game in front of you, and that's what you have to kind of keep the focus. We put ourselves in a good position here. Like I can't see us getting past a 6 seed in the NCAA tournament when in reality we probably wouldn't get past a 5 seed, right? If you crunch it, I don't see us there. I don't see us. I think the best if you win 4 games is possibly getting to a 3 seed, but I don't see it. We probably land at a 4 still. But you're going to beat quality people there. It's going to be quality wins at the end when people don't get them. So, like, yeah, you can really help yourself. The thing that could get, like, really spun is that we can't go head-to-head with some of these people. We can play them in the second round, but there's a lot of people in our league at that 4 or 5. They're just hovering right there at that 4 or 5. So, like, they're going to have to let, with the conferences having so many in the SEC, the Big Ten, them colliding in the second round, but they're going to do their damnedest to avoid it. But it's going to happen. So be thankful, right? Because you won a game and you've gotten there. Like, just keep putting yourself in that position and not worrying about it. So my point to that is you could do something really good and maybe not move anything because they're crunched with all those Big Ten teams right there, right? And you could do something poor and actually like looks like you improved because they're going to have to split that up to the best of their ability, which is going to be difficult for them.
This seems like as open a Big Ten tournament as it's ever been.
Yeah, but I think it's that way all the time. I think how you feel going into it, you always say, this team's really playing well. I'm going to pick them to go in there. And then they get beat in the first round. You're like, well, this team here is just kind of lukewarm or whatever. And then they get in the championship game. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, it depends. You got to win your first game. You got to get some momentum. You got to get feeling good about yourself and then get on the run.
First program to have 3 player of the years in a row. Just what does that say about your guys?
Well, it kind of says about our 2 guys, right? They're player of the year. I would like to think that Trey probably had the second most votes too in the league. I don't know if he did or he didn't. If he didn't, John Tonji did. He had the 3rd most. So you got a guy that kind of, if this was a political race, they would have split votes and hurt themselves, right? But no, just proud of Braden, and he's worked really hard. He's put a lot of time into it. Proud of Trey and all the work that he's put into it, and really kind of waiting his turn. He knew how we played and what we did, that we would, get some things that suited him, and that's what you have to do as a coach. Try to fit what you do around your best guys. And obviously, we were able to do that for Zach and being Player of the Year 2 times, and now Braden obviously being the Player of the Year. But I think it bodes well also for recruiting, just because when you look at things and say how you want to be used, like you got guys on your team that want to be in those roles. Like those guys put themselves in that roles. A lot of times immature players and people around them don't understand that. They don't grasp that. Like, well, you've set Braden up for success. No, Braden makes sense for us to circle things around him. It makes sense for us to try to get Trey in short roles and play with it, but it didn't make as much sense for us to get Trey in short roles with Zebo in there, right? And so it's just one of those things. It's how it is. You always sit back and do what's best for your program and do what's best for you for what we do offensively. Sometimes it's the same and say, that's a Purdue type big guy. well, is Trey a Purdue type big guy? Like, you wouldn't say that, right? There's no way you would say that. But he is. He is, because obviously we learned how to utilize his skill set.
Kind of off of that, you told us a couple of years ago on the back end of his career, Trey would be an all Big Ten player. But it only happens if he has the right mindset to being redshirted, to playing 12 to 15 minutes a night as a redshirt freshman. How did he embrace that to get to where he is now, where he's one of the most used guys?
Well, I think, first of all, you're dealing with someone who's intelligent. And not a knock on other guys, but I don't know how intelligent I was when I was 20. And he's intelligent. Like, he's an old soul. So, like, you can sit and have a conversation, a mature conversation with him, and he'll see, like, what you're saying. Like, he'll understand what you're saying. Or he won't. But either way, it'll be from intelligence. And so, like, that piece of it, to say, what he just said to me when I met with him was, I can do this one more year with Zach, but I can't do it 2 more years. And once again, it's an intelligent thought. Like, he's right. Like, I know this is going to work for me here at Purdue. I know that. But I got to have the opportunity to do it. And that's what is going to slow somebody like Zach is going to slow other people's development down that play in his position or around his position, because you've got to do so much for him from a spacing standpoint. He needs space.